Hi, my name is Sierra Freeman, and today I will be giving a presentation on lead pollution in Haina in the Dominican Republic. The objectives of my presentation will be to first understand the role of the city of Haina in the socio-economic context of the country and the Dominican Republic. I will then analyze the pathway to which lead pollution was able to occur in the first place. I'll then review the health impacts of lead poisoning on children and adults and the WHO acceptable blood lead levels. Then I'll summarize the efforts made to decrease lead pollution in Haina and the status of the issue today. Finally, I'll bring attention to the persisting problem of lead pollution worldwide. During this presentation, I'll first give an overview of the city of Haina, and I'll include its geography, its industry, and its population. Next, I will discuss the history and the context of the issue, which is the Metaloxa acid battery recycling facility's pollution of lead. I will then cover the negative health effects this lead pollution had on Haina's population, specifically adults and children. Following the impacts, I will discuss efforts that were made to improve the environmental health of Haina, followed by a summary and updates, and finally my references. So, Bajos de Haina is the second largest city in the region of San Cristobal. The municipality is home to over 100 companies, including the country's only oil refinery, which makes it a major industrial hub. Being only 22 minutes across the Haina River from Santo Domingo, the country's capital, Haina also provides many hotels for tourists. In 2006, the Blacksmith Institute named the city of Haina one of the most polluted cities in the world, grimly renamed the Dominican Chernobyl. The Metaloxa lead acid battery recycling facility functioned in the city for 20 years without any environmental standards or controls. The lead smeltering plant was located on top of a hill in the community of Paraiso de Dios in Haina. Rainwater runoff allowed massive lead pollution of the groundwater and soil in the surrounding area, and this runoff continued into the Rio Haina, located 300 meters south of the Metaloxa facility, and it finally reached the Bay of Haina. Lead levels in soil throughout the community exceeded the U.S. EPA's limits by over 10,000 times, and some areas reached a lead content of 50%. Studies found that a devastating majority of members of this community live with elevated blood lead levels and have suffered irreversible damages to their health as a result. Children are more susceptible to lead than adults because of the body's process of absorption. Small amounts of lead in adults are not thought to be harmful. However, even low levels of lead can be dangerous to infants and children. Lead causes damages to the brain and nervous system, as you can see pictured here, leading to slowed growth and development, learning and behavioral problems, lower IQ, hearing loss, chronic headaches, and underperformance in school. In adults, hypertension, irritability, depression, infertility, and weakness are common. In Haina, these issues are specifically severe in children, along with a high rate of birth defects. And the long-term effects of children contaminated early in life are still seen there today. Though not a very large city, Haina is densely populated, and many inhabitants live in homes with dirt floors, which likely allowed lead pollution to spread rapidly. The pollution in Haina has continued to grow. But as we can see later on, the threat of lead pollution has decreased. The population has continued to grow. From October 1997, lead concentration in children has gone down, as pictured here, from above 140 levels to nearly 35 in February of 2007. Lead in the soil is one of the 4 major pathways in which lead can cause poisoning. Most of the residential homes in Haina have dirt floors. However, children playing in the soil are able to get lead oxide on their hands, which then enters their body through ingestion. In 2006, a sampling conducted by Jack Caravanos and Richard Fuller in Paraiso de Dios 12 soil samples were taken from the Metaloxa acid battery recycling facility and the residential background surrounding the perimeter. The U.S. EPA lead and soil health-based standards is 440 parts per million for children coming into contact. As we can see, the levels found in Haina, on average, are well above the recommended levels, leading us to believe that soil could be one of the main routes of contamination for the population in Haina. Thankfully, in 2007, efforts began to develop interventions to improve the environment in Haina, to also educate the population on ways they can limit their exposure, and to increase blood testing. Excavation of the Metaloxa site took place between December 2008 and February 2009, where over 6,000 cubic meters of contaminated material were removed from the community and transported to an environmentally sound industrial site for storage and further processing. Soil from community pathways and backyards were also excavated and refilled with clean sand and soil. And in mid-2010, another 4,000 cubic meters of lead-contaminated soil were removed and disposed of properly. In 1999, a study was conducted and found that blood lead levels in 42% of children were less than 10 micrograms per DL. The slight drop from less than 10 micrograms DL to between 10 to 19 micrograms represents the closing of the Metaloxa plant, but the environment was still heavily contaminated. Not seeing enough of a remediation of blood lead levels after the initial excavation efforts, the Blacksmith Institutes removed highly contaminated waste and covered what remained of the contaminated soils with a concrete level. And this work was implemented back in 2010, where blood tests were then taken in September of the same year and found only 15% of children had blood lead levels of between 20 to 39 micrograms. And in a final sample, only 10% of children held between 40 to 99 micrograms of blood lead levels. And now, blood lead levels have fallen in nearly all cases. This analysis released by UNICEF found that a third of the world's population of children are experiencing lead poisoning. This is equivalent to approximately 800 children. One of the main areas of concern is the informal recycling of lead acid batteries, which is found in the city of Haina earlier this century. In summary, Haina was the site of massive lead pollution related to the Metaloxa lead acid battery recycling plant and their lack of environmental standards and control, which led to community-wide poisoning. Local protests and interventions from the Blacksmith Institute worked to remove the contaminated soil, and even after the source of lead is removed, surrounding exposed environment can continue exposing populations. Adverse health effects can occur over the course of a lifetime, and the greatest threat to the Haina population was removed. However, further work must be done to ensure the health and safety of the community. And finally, worldwide, lead poisoning is still a major concern of the WHO. Here are my references, and thank you for listening.